5 years passed. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Human space expanded slowly, but no species dared to challenge it. The buffer zone around human territory was empty, except for authorized trade vessels and diplomatic ships. Pirates avoided the region completely. Even wars between other species would pause if they came too close to human borders, both sides unwilling to risk accidentally harming a human. The Caltrax Empire was now the Caltrax Republic. Their military was reduced to system defense forces. They paid reparations to human families, a debt that would take generations to complete. But they survived. Many Caltrax were grateful for this. They had seen what humans could do. They had seen the mercy in being allowed to survive at all. Commander Zethra was old now. The war had aged him more than the years. He no longer served in the military. Instead, he spent his days at a small dwelling on the edge of Caltrax space, as far from the capital as he could get. He lived alone with only his memories and his regrets. On a cold morning, he received an unexpected message. A human vessel was requesting permission to enter Caltrax space. The ship's destination was his home. Zethra was confused but granted permission. What could humans want with him? The ship landed near his dwelling that evening. It was small, a personal transport rather than a military vessel. A single human emerged, wearing a black uniform with silver markings. The human was young, perhaps 30 years old, with short dark hair and steady eyes. Zethra met him outside. "I am Commander Zethra, retired. You have traveled far to find me." The human bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. "I am Captain Marcus Webb. My father was Admiral Marcus Webb. He commanded the fleet that defeated yours." Zethra felt his blood run cold. "I remember your father well. What do you want from me?" "To talk," Marcus said simply. "May I come in?" They sat in Zethra's simple dwelling. The old Caltrax served a bitter tea that humans could tolerate. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Zethra broke the silence. "Why are you here, Captain Webb?" "My father died 2 years ago," Marcus said. "Natural causes, old age. Before he died, he told me about you. He said you were the only Caltrax who truly understood." "Understood what?" "What we are. What we have become." Marcus looked at his tea. "My father won the war. He kept the Legion protocol. He saved countless human lives by making sure no species would dare attack us again. But it haunted him. Until his death, he wondered if we had become monsters." Zethra nodded slowly. "I have wondered the same about my own people. We were conquerors. We took pride in our strength, our ability to dominate others. And then we met humans. You showed us that true strength is not about domination. It is about commitment. You committed to each other in a way we never understood." "Is that strength?" Marcus asked. "Or is it madness? We destroyed thousands of your ships. We crippled your worlds, all because you killed 47 humans on one exploration vessel. You gave warning," Zethra said. "You showed restraint when you could have shown destruction. You calculated the minimum force necessary to make your point. That is not madness. That is discipline." Marcus stood and walked to the window, looking out at the alien landscape. "The galaxy fears us now. Even our allies are cautious around us. They know what we are capable of. Sometimes I wonder if we traded one kind of isolation for another. Before we were unknown, now we are known and feared. But your people are safe," Zethra pointed out. "In 5 years, how many humans have died to hostile action?" 17, Marcus admitted. 17 in 5 years compared to hundreds per year before the war. Then the Legion protocol works. At what cost? Marcus turned back to face him. At the cost of being seen as executioners? At the cost of having every species watch us nervously, wondering when we might calculate that they owe us a debt. Zethra stood and walked over to the young human. "Captain Webb, I will tell you what I learned. Before we met humans, the Caltrax Empire ruled through fear. We attacked weaker species, enslaved populations, took what we wanted. We thought this made us strong. But we were parasites. We fed on the weakness of others. When we finally met a species that would not accept our dominance, we learned how weak we truly were." He gestured to the window. "Look at my people now. We have peace. Real peace. We trade instead of conquer. We build instead of destroy. And yes, we fear humans. But that fear taught us to be better. Is that not worth something?" "Maybe," Marcus said. "But what about humanity? We built the Legion protocol to protect ourselves. But has it changed us? Made us colder? More willing to calculate deaths like accounting? Come with me, Zethra said. He led Marcus outside to a small garden behind the dwelling. In the center was a memorial, a simple stone with names carved into it. Human names, the crew of the Prometheus, Marcus read aloud. You built a memorial for the humans you killed. I was the one who ordered their destruction, Zethra said quietly. I see their faces every time I close my eyes. Sarah Chen, Robert Martinez, Yuki Tanaka, 47 names. I learned them all. It seemed like the least I could do. Marcus was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. This is what my father wanted me to understand. This is why he told me to find you. What do you mean? The Legion Protocol is not about mathematics. It is not about revenge or fear or cold calculation. It is about remembering. It is about making sure that every human who dies means something, that they are not just forgotten numbers. Marcus looked at the memorial. You understand that better than most humans do. Zethra shook his head. I understand it because I failed to understand it when it mattered. I saw the Prometheus crew as obstacles, as inferior beings. I did not see them as people with names and families and hopes. Your father made sure I would never forget that mistake. They stood together in silence, looking at the names. Finally, Marcus spoke again. The Legion Protocol will never go away. It is part of who humans are now. But maybe it does not have to be just about revenge. Maybe it can be about remembering, about honoring the dead by living better. Is that what you will tell your people? Zethra asked. I will try. My father left me his command. I am responsible for the safety of thousands of humans across dozens of systems. I will keep the Legion Protocol because I must. Because every human under my command needs to know that if something happens to them, we will respond. But I want them to also know that the point is not the revenge. The point is the promise. The promise that no one is forgotten, that no one dies alone. Zethra placed a hand on the young captain's shoulder. That is wise. And it is more than your protocol. It is humanity's greatest strength. You bind yourselves together with promises and memories. That is why you defeated us. Not because you were stronger, because you refused to let each other go. Marcus nodded. I should return to my ship. Thank you, Commander, for this conversation, for the memorial, for understanding what my father was trying to tell me. Thank you for coming, Zethra said, for giving an old warrior some peace, for showing me that humans are more than their mathematics. As Marcus's ship lifted off, Zethra watched from his garden. He looked at the memorial, at the 47 names carved in stone. Names he had erased from life but would carry with him until death. That was his burden. That was his price. Across the galaxy, life continued. Human ships patrolled their borders, each one carrying the names of the fallen, each one ready to uphold the promise. But slowly, quietly, things were changing. The fear that humans had built was beginning to shift into something else. Respect. Understanding. Other species were learning the lesson the Caltrax had learned. Humans were dangerous, yes, but they were also loyal, committed, and surprisingly honorable. They did not seek conquest. They sought only to protect their own. In the Galactic Council, debates continued about human policy. But now more voices spoke in favor of humans. They are not monsters, Ambassador Telvok argued. They are simply a species that takes promises seriously. Is that not admirable? On Earth, a new memorial was built. A massive structure holding the names of every human who had died in space. Millions of names stretching back to the earliest days of space exploration. At the entrance, an inscription read, "They went into the dark, but they did not go alone. They went with the promise of all humanity, a promise we keep now and forever. No human dies alone." Young humans visiting the memorial would read the names and understand. This was not about violence or revenge. This was about memory, about commitment, about the bonds that held humanity together across the vast emptiness of space. Every name was a person. Every person was remembered. Every death was honored. And in the ships and stations scattered across human space, in the colonies on distant worlds, in the outposts at the edge of explored territory, humans went about their lives. They explored new worlds. They built new homes. They reached for the stars. And they did it knowing that if something happened, if they fell, if they were killed, humanity would remember. Humanity would respond. Humanity would never leave them alone. That was the Legion Protocol. Not mathematics. Not revenge. Just a promise. The simplest and most powerful promise any species had ever made. We are with you, always, no matter what, no matter where, no matter when. You are not alone. The Caltrax Empire had 3 days to evacuate 3 colony worlds. It was impossible. Millions of civilians, thousands of ships needed limited time. Panic spread across the targeted planets as families tried to flee. The spaceports were overwhelmed. Ships crashed trying to leave too quickly. Some Caltrax refused to believe the humans would really do it. They stayed in their homes, certain it was a bluff. Supreme Leader Krathax sent urgent messages to the human fleet. We will negotiate. We will discuss terms. Please allow more time for evacuation. Admiral Webb's response was brief. You had 3 days to consider your actions before you attacked our colonies. We are giving you the same courtesy. The countdown continues. On the 2nd day, the Galactic Council intervened. Ships from a dozen neutral species arrived at the threatened worlds to help with evacuation. The Council sent desperate messages to both sides begging for a ceasefire. The humans allowed the neutral ships to evacuate Caltrax civilians. They did nothing to interfere with the rescue efforts. But the countdown continued. 72 hours after the warning, the human fleet moved into bombardment positions. The evacuation was not complete. Nearly 500,000 Caltrax remained on the 3 worlds, unable to escape in time. Supreme Leader Krathax sent one final message. If you do this, you will be no better than us. You will be murderers of civilians. The galaxy will turn against you. Admiral Webb appeared on screen one last time. His face was tired now. Lines of stress showed around his eyes. But his voice was steady. Supreme Leader, you killed 3,000 of our civilians. We gave you warning. We gave you time. We allowed neutral parties to help evacuate. We have done more than you did for our people, but make no mistake. The debt will be paid. Please, Krathax said, and for the first time his voice held fear. Please, many of those still on the planets are children. They have done nothing wrong. Neither had ours, Webb said quietly. Neither had the 500 miners at Kepler Station. Neither had the families on the colony worlds you attacked. You started this mathematics. We are simply finishing the equation. The transmission ended. The human fleet opened fire, but something unexpected happened. The bombardment was not random. The humans had spent 3 days scanning the planets. They knew where every remaining Caltrax was located. And they did not fire on those locations. Instead, they destroyed empty military bases, weapons factories, government buildings. Every symbol of Caltrax military power on those worlds was turned to ash. But the areas where civilians remained were untouched. When the bombardment ended, the 3 worlds were crippled but not destroyed. The cities where Caltrax civilians had sheltered were intact. But the planets would take decades to rebuild their infrastructure. Admiral Webb sent one more message. Supreme Leader Krathax, we have done our mathematics. 3,000 humans killed equals 3 worlds crippled. Your military installations destroyed, but your people alive. This is more mercy than you showed us. But if you attack human colonies again, next time we will not be so careful. Next time the math will be simpler. Do you understand? In the Caltrax capital, Krathax slumped in his throne. Around him, the military council was silent. General Vector finally spoke. Supreme Leader, we must stop. The humans have shown they can strike anywhere in our space. They can destroy our worlds. But they also showed restraint today. They could have killed millions but chose not to. This is our chance to end this war before we lose everything. We cannot surrender, Krathax said, but his voice was weak. We are the Caltrax Empire. Then we will become the extinct Caltrax Empire, Vector said bluntly. I have reviewed all the battles. In every engagement, humans have destroyed 5 of our ships for every one of theirs we destroy. We started this war with 10,000 ships. We have lost 3,000 in 2 weeks. At this rate, we will have no fleet left in 2 months. And that is not counting what the humans can do to our colonies, our trade routes, our infrastructure. Zethro was brought into the throne room. He looked at the Supreme Leader, seeing the defeat in his eyes. You wanted to show the humans what real warriors look like, Zethro said. Instead, they showed us. They showed us that war is not about honor or glory. It is about will. It is about commitment. And they have more of both than we ever imagined. How do we stop this? Krathax asked. How do we make peace? We give them what they want, Zethro replied. They do not want our worlds. They do not want to rule us. They want us to stop killing humans. It is that simple. Over the next week, frantic negotiations occurred. The Galactic Council served as mediators. The humans had simple demands. The Caltrax Empire would cease all military actions against human targets. The Empire would pay reparations to the families of every human killed. The Empire would reduce its military to defensive forces only. And most importantly, the Empire would broadcast a warning throughout the galaxy explaining what happened when you killed humans. Krathax wanted to refuse. His generals warned him that accepting these terms would destroy the Empire's reputation. But the alternative was the complete destruction of the Empire itself. After 2 days of debate, he agreed. The message went out across every communication channel in the galaxy. Supreme Leader Krathax appeared on screen, his scales dull with shame. I am Supreme Leader Krathax of what was once the Caltrax Empire. I speak to warn all species of a terrible truth we learned at great cost. The humans are not like us. They do not fight like us. They do not think like us. They have a saying, no one dies alone. This is not poetry. This is a promise. If you kill a human, all humans become your enemy. They will find you. They will calculate the price. They will make you pay it. We killed 3,000 humans. We lost 3,000 ships and 3 colony worlds in return. We consider ourselves fortunate. The humans could have destroyed us completely. They chose mercy, but they have made it clear that there will be no second chance. To all species listening, do not harm humans. Do not threaten them. Do not attack them. Unless you are prepared to fight every single human in existence, leave them alone. The message ended. Across the galaxy, species listened and understood. The humans had not just defeated the Caltrax. They had made an example of them. On Earth, in the headquarters of the Defense Fleet, Admiral Webb stood at a window looking out at the city below. His second-in-command, Captain Morrison, stood beside him. It is over, sir, Morrison said. The Caltrax have surrendered. The war is won, is it? Webb asked quietly. We lost 3,000 people, Morrison. 3,000 names. 3,000 families who will never see their loved ones again. How is that winning? We made them pay, sir. We kept the promise, yes. Webb turned from the window. We kept the promise. And now every species in the galaxy knows. Attack one human, face all humans. Kill our people, and we will calculate the cost down to the last decimal point. We have made ourselves into something terrifying. Is that not what we wanted? Morrison asked. Webb was quiet for a moment. I do not know anymore. We built the Legion Protocol to protect our own, to make sure no human ever died alone, forgotten, unavenged. But what have we become? We count deaths like accountants. We measure revenge in exchange rates. We have turned grief into mathematics. With respect, sir, what else could we do? Should we have let the Caltrax kill our people without response? No, Webb said firmly. No, we respond. We always respond. That is the promise, and we keep it. But I wonder sometimes, Captain, will there come a day when the galaxy fears us so much that they unite against us? Will our protocol, designed to protect humans, eventually isolate us? Perhaps, sir. But until that day comes, every human in space knows that if something happens to them, we will move the stars themselves to make it right. That has to count for something. Webb nodded slowly. Yes, it counts for everything. That is why we do this. Not for revenge. For the promise. So that every human who goes into the dark knows they are not alone. That is worth any price. He pulled up a holographic display showing the names of every human who died in the war. 3,000 names. He read each one silently, committing them to memory as he always did. It was his personal ritual, his way of honoring the dead. When he finished, he looked at Morrison. Send a message to all human ships. The Legion Protocol remains in effect. Every human who serves knows the promise. If they fall, we will come. If they are killed, we will respond. No matter what. No matter who. No human dies alone. Yes, sir. The message will be sent immediately. Webb looked back out the window at the city. Somewhere down there, families were mourning their dead. Children who would grow up without parents. Parents who had lost their children. The mathematics of war was simple, but the cost was measured in broken hearts, not numbers. We won, he said quietly. But what did we win? Fear, respect, safety, but at what cost to our souls? Morrison had no answer. Some questions had no good answers. The Legion Protocol had saved humanity from its enemies. But perhaps it had also changed humanity into something darker, something that valued the debt more than the cost, something that could burn worlds and call it mathematics. The war was over. But the real question remained. What kind of species had humanity become? The Galactic Council met in the Great Chamber on the neutral station of Axis Prime. Representatives from 200 species gathered in the circular room, each in their designated section. The humans had not been invited. This was a meeting about them, not with them. Ambassador Telvok of the Vesk Consortium spoke first. His people were traitors, practical and cautious. We must establish protocols immediately. Human space must be clearly marked. No Vesk ship will enter human territory without explicit permission. No Vesk citizen will engage with humans except through official diplomatic channels. You speak of appeasement, growled Representative Korth of the Mordane Alliance. His species were warriors, though not as aggressive as the Caltrax. We should be discussing containment. The humans are dangerous. They respond to minor incidents with overwhelming force. This cannot be allowed to continue. Ambassador Telvok's fur rippled with agitation. Minor incidents? They respond to murder with justice. Is that not reasonable? Justice? Korth slammed his fist on his podium. They destroyed an entire pirate base, killing thousands for the deaths of 200 humans. That is not justice. That is genocide. The pirates chose to attack, Telvok pointed out. The humans simply responded. An old voice interrupted the argument. Scholar Prime Velsara of the Archival Collective rose slowly. Her species were the record-keepers of the galaxy, studying and documenting all intelligent life. Representatives, please. I have spent weeks studying human history and culture. I believe I understand what we are dealing with. The chamber quieted. The Archival Collective was neutral and respected. When they spoke, others listened. Humans are a social species, Velsara began, but their social bonding is far more intense than any species we have previously encountered. On their home world, humans evolved as pack hunters. They survived not through individual strength, but through cooperation. A single human is weak, but humans together become something far more powerful. She activated a holographic display showing human history. Look at their past. Their wars were brutal, yes, but look closer. In every conflict, humans showed an unusual behavior. They would risk their lives to save wounded comrades. They would fight impossible battles to recover their dead. They created entire military doctrines around this principle. No man left behind was not just a saying. It was a promise written in blood. This is not unique, Korth argued. Many species care for their wounded. You miss the point, Velsara said gently. Other species care for their wounded because it is practical. Because wounded today may fight tomorrow. Humans do it even when it is not practical, even when it costs them more than it saves. They do it because to leave someone behind breaks something fundamental in their nature. She changed the display to show human expansion into space. When humans left their homeworld, they could have abandoned this trait. Space is vast. Death is common. But instead, they made it stronger. They created the Legion Protocol. They made a promise to every human who goes into space: if you die, we will remember. If you are killed, we will avenge, no matter the cost. And we are supposed to accept this insanity? Korth demanded. We are supposed to understand it, Velsara replied, because it is not insanity. It is strategy. Think carefully. If you were a human ship captain, knowing that your death would bring an entire fleet to avenge you, how brave would you be? How far would you go? If you were a human colonist, knowing that any attack on your colony would be answered with total war, how safe would you feel? She looked around the chamber. The humans have weaponized loyalty. They have turned love for their own kind into the most effective deterrent in the galaxy. And it works. It works because they mean every word of it. They will follow through no matter the cost. A new voice spoke up. Ambassador Thren of the Syrinx Unity, a peaceful species known for their philosophy and art. Then what do you suggest, Scholar Prime? How do we coexist with such a species? Carefully, Velsara said simply. Very carefully. Do not attack them. Do not harm them. Do not even threaten them unless you are prepared to face total war. The humans are not conquerors. They do not want our worlds. They simply want to be left alone. Give them that and they will be peaceful neighbors. And if we do not? Thren asked quietly. Velsara's old eyes were sad. Then we will learn the same lesson the Caltrax are learning now. The humans have calculated the mathematics of war. They know exactly what it costs to make an enemy never attack again, and they are willing to pay that price. Across the galaxy on the Caltrax homeworld, Supreme Leader Krathax made his decision. He stood in the war room surrounded by his generals and admirals. Outside, the twin moons of the homeworld glowed red in the evening sky. "We will not bow to these humans," Krathax declared. "We are the Caltrax Empire. For 300 years we have ruled this sector of space. No species has defeated us. These humans destroyed one fleet through trickery and advanced knowledge. They will not defeat the full might of the Empire." General Vector, the oldest military commander, spoke carefully. "Supreme Leader, perhaps we should consider—" "Consider what?" Krathax interrupted. "Consider surrender? Consider fear? We are Caltrax. We are warriors. The humans think they can intimidate us with their revenge fleets and their protocols. Let them try. We will show them what real warriors look like." He activated a holographic map of Caltrax space. "I am mobilizing 10,000 warships." 10,000. "We will divide into battle groups and strike at every human colony, every human station, every human world we can reach. We will kill so many humans that they will beg for peace." Zethra, standing in the back of the room, felt ice in his blood. "Supreme Leader, that is exactly what they want us to do." Krathax turned, his eyes blazing. "What did you say?" "They want us to attack, Supreme Leader," Zethra said, stepping forward. He had nothing to lose now. "Do you not see? Every human we kill brings more human ships. It is a trap. The more we fight, the more they justify total war against us." "Commander Zethra, you are a coward and a failure," Krathax said coldly. "You ran from battle. You have no right to speak here." "I ran from a battle we could not win," Zethra replied. "I am trying to stop you from making the same mistake on a larger scale. Supreme Leader, I beg you, send diplomats, negotiate, find a peaceful solution." "There is no peace with humans," Krathax said. "Only victory or defeat." "We choose victory. Guards, remove this coward from the war room." 2 soldiers grabbed Zethra's arms and dragged him out. As the doors closed behind him, he heard Krathax begin issuing orders for the attack. 10,000 ships, hundreds of thousands of Caltrax warriors, all about to learn the same terrible lesson he had learned. 10 days later, the Caltrax fleet launched their attack. They struck at 15 human colonies simultaneously, catching the humans by surprise. The attacks were devastating. Kepler Station, a mining facility, was destroyed completely. 500 humans died. 3 other colonies suffered heavy casualties. In total, 3,000 humans were killed in the first wave. The Caltrax celebrated. Messages of victory spread throughout the Empire. Supreme Leader Krathax declared that the humans had been taught a lesson. The species that thought they could not be touched had been bloodied. The celebration lasted 2 days. On the 3rd day, something appeared on the long-range sensors of every Caltrax military installation. Ships, thousands of them, emerging from faster-than-light travel at coordinates all across Caltrax space. Not near the Caltrax homeworld, not near the major military bases, near the colonies, the mining worlds, the trading stations, the places where Caltrax civilians lived and worked. Admiral Marcus Webb had learned from the first battle. He had studied the Caltrax. He understood what they would do, and he had prepared. The human fleets did not attack the military targets. They bypassed them completely. Instead, they struck at 3 Caltrax colony worlds simultaneously. Civilian targets, just as the Caltrax had struck at human civilians. But the humans did not glass the planets from orbit. They did not kill indiscriminately. They were precise. They destroyed every military installation on each world, every government building, every communications hub. They left the cities intact but dark and defenseless. Then they broadcast a message on all frequencies. Admiral Webb's face appeared on every screen in Caltrax space. 3,000 humans died in your attacks. The exchange rate has been calculated. You have 3 days to evacuate these 3 worlds. After 3 days, these planets will be bombarded from orbit. This is not negotiable. This is mathematics. In the Caltrax capital, Supreme Leader Krathax stared at the transmission in disbelief. They cannot do this. These are civilian worlds. Millions of Caltrax live there. Zethra, still under house arrest, heard the news. He closed his eyes and whispered to himself. They told you. They showed you. And you did not listen. The humans had done the math, and now the Caltrax would pay the price. The battle lasted 6 hours. Zethra had fought in many wars, but nothing had prepared him for the humans. They did not fight with rage or passion. They fought like machines, cold and precise. Every movement was calculated. Every shot found its target. The Caltrax fleet outnumbered the humans by 5 to 1. It did not matter. The humans knew everything about the Caltrax ships because of the data the Prometheus had sent. They knew where the shields were weakest. They knew where the weapons would recharge slowest. They knew which ships carried the most important commanders. One by one, Caltrax vessels exploded into fire and debris. Zethra screamed orders, trying to organize a defense. His ships scattered, trying to escape, but the humans had positioned themselves perfectly. Every escape route was blocked. All ships fall back to defensive formation. Zethra commanded. Focus fire on their command vessel. The Caltrax fleet fired everything they had at Admiral Webb's flagship. For a moment, Zethra felt hope. The human ship's shields flickered under the assault. But then 10 other human ships moved in front of it, their shields overlapping, protecting their commander. The formation was flawless. Sir, we have lost 60% of our fleet, his tactical officer reported. Smoke filled the bridge from damaged systems. We must retreat. No, we are Caltrax. We do not run from. An explosion rocked the flagship. The lights went out, replaced by emergency red lighting. Zethra grabbed his chair to keep from falling. Direct hit to our main engines, the engineer reported. We are dead in space, Commander. Zethra looked at the tactical display. Of his original 300 ships, only 15 remained. The humans had barely lost 20 vessels. 20 out of 200. The mathematics was brutally clear. His communications panel lit up. Admiral Webb's face appeared again on the screen. The human looked exactly the same as before. Not tired. Not excited. Just cold and professional. Commander Zethra, your fleet is defeated. I am offering you one chance and one chance only. You will be allowed to escape in your damaged flagship. You will return to your empire. You will tell them exactly what happened here. You are letting me go? Zethra could not hide his confusion. Why? Because I want your people to know. I want every species in this galaxy to understand. This is what happens when you kill humans. Not 1, not 10, not 100. You killed 47, and we destroyed 285 of your ships. We calculated the exchange rate. Your people need to learn this mathematics. Admiral Webb leaned forward, his eyes never leaving Zethra's. Go home, Commander. Tell your empire. Tell everyone. Humans do not forgive. Humans do not forget. Humans do not die alone. This is your only warning. The transmission ended. Zethra watched as the human fleet regrouped around their flagship. They made no attempt to pursue his few remaining ships. They simply waited, engines glowing in the darkness of space until Zethra's damaged vessel limped away. The journey back to the Caltrax homeworld took 2 weeks. 2 weeks of shame and fear. Zethra barely slept. In his mind, he kept seeing that cold expression on Admiral Webb's face. Not hatred. Not anger. Just cold calculation. When he finally arrived at the homeworld, Zethra expected to be executed for his failure. Instead, the Supreme Leader kept him alive. You will tell your story to the military council, the Supreme Leader commanded. You will explain how a superior Caltrax fleet was destroyed by primitives. Zethra stood before the council, hundreds of the Empire's greatest warriors and strategists. He told them everything. The destruction of the Prometheus. The arrival of the human fleet. The battle. The mathematics. This is cowardice, one council member snarled. You fled from battle. You should be executed. Execute me if you wish, Zethra said quietly. But first, listen to the reports coming in from across the galaxy. The council fell silent. A young intelligence officer stepped forward, her scales pale with fear. Supreme Leader, we have received multiple reports in the past 2 weeks. The humans are not stopping. They are not just defending their territory. Explain, the Supreme Leader commanded. The intelligence officer activated a holographic display. Red dots appeared across a star map, each one representing an incident. 3 days after the battle at the Vesk colony, a pirate group called the Red Claws attacked a human transport ship. They killed 200 humans and stole the cargo. Pirates attack ships every day, a council member said. What does this matter? The pirates were destroyed, sir. Completely. 12 human battle groups arrived at their base within 48 hours. Not one pirate survived. The humans burned their entire asteroid base to slag. Another red dot appeared on the map. 5 days ago, a species called the Jorth captured a human science team studying a planet. 3 humans, sir. Just 3. The humans sent a full military fleet. They did not negotiate. They did not offer to trade. They destroyed every Jorth military installation in the system and recovered their people. The Jorth government has already surrendered and agreed to pay compensation. More red dots appeared. Each one was a story of humans responding to attacks with overwhelming force. The pattern was clear and terrible. It did not matter if one human died or 100. The response was always the same: total, absolute, unstoppable. Why are they doing this? The Supreme Leader asked. Do they want to conquer the galaxy? Zethra stepped forward again. No, Supreme Leader. They do not want conquest. They want something else, something we never understood. He activated another display showing intercepted human communications. I have spent 2 weeks studying everything we know about humans. Their history, their culture, their wars. I found something. On their homeworld thousands of years ago, humans developed a tradition. In their military forces they had a saying, "No man left behind." They would risk everything to recover their dead. They would fight impossible battles just to bring home the bodies of their fallen. Foolish sentiment, a council member said. Is it? Zethra challenged. This tradition evolved. When humans went to space, they made it stronger. They created something called the Legion Protocol. Every human ship, every human station, every human colony has it. When a human dies, especially when a human is killed by others, a signal goes out. That signal contains everything. The identity of the attackers, their location, their capabilities, and that signal goes to every human military force within range. He paused, letting the words sink in. But it is more than just a warning system. It is a promise that every human makes to every other human. If you die, we will come for you. If you are killed, we will avenge you, no matter what it costs, no matter how long it takes. No human dies alone. The council chamber was silent. The Supreme Leader's claws drummed on his throne. This is the behavior of a mad species. They would destroy themselves to maintain this promise. No, Supreme Leader, Zethra said softly. That is the point. They will destroy everyone else first. I looked at their military records. Do you know what they do before every battle? They read names. The names of every human who died since their last battle. Thousands of names sometimes. They read every single one. They remember. And they fight for those dead. The intelligence officer spoke up again. Supreme Leader, there is more. Other species are reacting. The Vest Consortium has declared human space off limits to all their ships. The Archival Collective is calling humans the most dangerous species they have ever studied. The Galactic Council has called an emergency session to discuss the human situation. One of the oldest council members, a warrior with scars covering his scales, spoke for the first time. I have studied war for 70 years. I have seen many species, many tactics. This is not war as we know it. This is something else. The humans have turned love for their own kind into a weapon. They have made loyalty into a strategy, and we cannot fight it. We are the Caltrax Empire, another member roared. We do not fear. Then you are a fool, Zethra interrupted. The room gasped at his disrespect, but he did not care anymore. I watched them fight. They were not afraid. They were not angry. They were not even excited. They were doing mathematics. 47 humans dead, 285 Caltrax ships destroyed. They calculated the price and they paid it in our blood. The Supreme Leader stood. You are dismissed, Commander. We will decide what to do about these humans. Zethra bowed and left. But he already knew what would happen. The Empire would not listen. They would see the humans as a challenge. And that would be the Empire's greatest mistake. The Caltrax warfleet moved through space like a school of metal predators. Commander Zethra stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars pass by. His dark scales gleamed under the red lights of the command center. He had conquered 17 worlds in his career. Today would be easy. Commander, we have detected a vessel ahead, said his sensor officer. The young Caltrax looked nervous, which annoyed Zethra. What kind of vessel? Zethra asked, his voice deep and rumbling. Unknown design, sir. Small. Maybe 40 or 50 crew members at most. Zethra smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Hail them. Let us see what new species we have found. The communication officer worked quickly. Within moments, a face appeared on the main screen. Zethra studied the creature carefully. It had smooth skin, no scales or fur, 2 eyes forward-facing like a predator, dark hair pulled back from its face. The creature wore a blue uniform with golden symbols on the shoulders. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Prometheus, the creature said. Its voice was calm, almost friendly. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations with your people. Zethra laughed. The sound echoed through the bridge and his crew joined in. Earth, he had never heard of such a place. These humans, as they called themselves, were clearly weak. They spoke of peace before even knowing who they faced. "I am Commander Zethra of the Caltrax Empire," he announced proudly. "Your vessel will surrender immediately. Your crew will be processed as workers for the Empire. Refuse and we will destroy you." The human captain's face changed slightly. Her eyes became harder, colder. "Commander, we have no wish for conflict. We are explorers, not soldiers. Please let us talk about this." "Talk?" Zethra leaned forward. "You speak of talk when you face the might of Caltrax? You have 1 minute to surrender or you will learn what happens to those who waste my time." He watched the human's face carefully. She looked to her left, speaking to someone off-screen. Her crew, probably. They would be afraid now. Good. Fear was the first step to obedience. Captain Chen turned back to the screen. "Commander Zethra, I am authorized to tell you this. What you are about to do will have consequences you cannot imagine. Please reconsider." Zethra's amusement faded into anger. "You dare threaten me? You and your tiny ship surrounded by my fleet?" He stood up from his command chair. "Weapons officer, target their ship. Prepare to fire." "Sir, they are transmitting something," the communications officer reported. "A massive data burst. I have never seen anything like it. The transmission is faster than light, using a method our systems do not recognize. I do not care about their final screams," Zethra said. "Fire." The bridge filled with the sound of weapons charging. On the main screen, Captain Chen closed her eyes for just a moment. Then she opened them and looked directly at Zethra. "You should have listened," she said quietly. The Caltrax weapons fired. Brilliant beams of energy crossed the distance between the fleet and the small human ship in seconds. The Prometheus exploded in a ball of white-hot fire. Metal and debris scattered into space. 47 humans died in an instant. The bridge crew cheered. Zethra nodded with satisfaction. Another easy victory. These humans had been nothing but talk. They died like all the others. "Commander," the sensor officer said hesitantly, "about that transmission. What about it?" Zethra settled back into his chair. "It was sent before we fired. The human ship transmitted detailed scans of all our vessels, fleet positions, weapon configurations, shield frequencies, crew numbers, everything. The data burst traveled faster than anything in our records." Zethra waved a clawed hand dismissively. "So, they sent a message to their homeworld. Let them know their ship is destroyed. What will they do, cry? Beg for mercy when we find them?" The sensor officer looked uncertain but said nothing more. The fleet continued on its way, leaving the debris field behind. Zethra ordered the crew to prepare for their next conquest. A colony world lay 3 days ahead, ripe for the taking. Those 3 days passed quickly. Zethra spent the time reviewing plans for the invasion. The colony belonged to a species called the Vesk, traders who had little military strength. It would be over in hours. On the morning of the 3rd day, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. "Commander, long-range sensors have detected multiple contacts approaching at high speed." The sensor officer's voice was sharp with surprise. Zethra moved to the sensor station. "How many ships?" "Counting now, sir." 100. 150. Still counting. 200 contacts, sir. 200 warships approaching from multiple vectors. "What species?" Zethra demanded. "The Vesk do not have such a fleet." The communications officer looked up, his face pale. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission. It is broadcasting on all frequencies." "Show me." The main screen flickered. A new human face appeared. This one was older, with short gray hair and hard eyes. The human wore a black uniform with silver markings. Behind him, dozens of other humans worked at control stations. "Caltrax vessels," the human said. His voice was cold and emotionless. "I am Admiral Marcus Webb of the Earth Defense Fleet. 3 days ago, you destroyed the exploration vessel Prometheus. You killed 47 human beings without provocation or mercy." Zethra felt something he had not experienced in years. A small flutter of uncertainty in his chest. "How did you get here so fast?" "Earth must be—" "We were already coming," Admiral Webb interrupted. The Prometheus transmitted full intelligence data in the moment before her destruction. "We have known everything about your fleet for 3 days. Your weapons, your shields, your crew numbers, your location, everything. You cannot defeat us," Zethra said, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. "We are the Caltrax Empire. We have conquered hundreds of worlds." "You killed 47 humans," the Admiral said. "We brought 47,000. Each of the 200 ships in my fleet carries the name of one of your victims. The UHFS Sarah Chen, the UHFS Robert Martinez, the UHFS Yuki Tanaka. 47 ships named for 47 dead. The rest are here to make sure we finish this. Zethra's claws dug into his armrest. You would go to war over one ship? For the first time, Admiral Webb's expression changed. Something flickered in his eyes. Not anger, something colder. Something that made Zethra's blood freeze. Commander Zethra, let me explain something about humans. We have a saying, no one fights alone, no one dies alone. When you killed 47 of us, you declared war on all of us. Every human, everywhere, we do not forgive. We do not forget. We do not leave our dead unavenged. This is insane, Zethra whispered. No, the Admiral said quietly. This is mathematics. You killed 47 humans. Simple division says each of you will pay for one of them. My crew has done the calculations. We know exactly how many Caltrax are in your fleet. We know exactly how to make this even. The transmission ended. On the sensor display, the 200 human ships began their approach. They moved with perfect coordination, like parts of a single organism. Zethra shouted orders, but deep in his mind a terrible thought grew. What had they awakened?